Hi everybody, I'm here with one of my favorite storytellers.
I'm Jamie Mahatka.
Jamie and I are sitting here at the Magnet Theater Training Center, which is where we met in a storytelling class a few months ago. So Jamie is kind of a perfect fit for this show, I would have to say.
Well, thank you.
I hope you agree.
I do. Often I'm not really perfect for anything, but I'll take it if it's this.
It's wonderful to have someone who fits. Or not fit, whatever, as it goes. We don't always fit. We find other places. Anyway, we're going to get started with our storytelling. As you know, this is our formula. Jamie's going to give me a couple words. It's going to help me get through this fortune teller, and then he's going to find the genre of story to tell a story in, and then he'll go.
Really fun.
It's going to be really fun. We're going to get to play around in Jamie's subconscious for a minute.
Yay!
He lets us. Yay! Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
First word. Anything.
Anything. Popcorn.
Popcorn. Popcorn. Next word.
Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Please use that in a sentence. It's like the spelling bee.
I know. I do like a spelling bee.
You would.
I would.
I would not.
I mean, I'm not saying I would always get it right.
But you would enjoy it.
And I also don't like a competition. I just kind of like spelling.
I think we're playing in your subconscious right now.
We are.
Good.
It's
like
okay.
that.
It's nice to have people wander around in there sometimes.
I think
Usually
so.
just me. Okay. Thanks for visiting.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie, pick a triangle. These are the triangle options.
Squiggle.
Squiggle. This squiggle.
Yeah, that squiggle.
A story about risk. It could be fiction or nonfiction, anything you want. Personal,
Risk.
not. Something about risk and using the words popcorn and sunshine.
Okay.
All right. Jamie's going to take a minute to think about it, and then we'll be right back.
So I went on a long trip after college. I went backpacking with some of my friends for 1 month, and that was already risky because we were going to be staying in hostels, and yours truly, I'm a germaphobe. I do like traveling, but I was a little scared to leave the United States for that long, but I did. And one of our first stops was in Switzerland. And my friends also know that I'm afraid of heights, and they don't care. They had me sign up to go canyoning with them. And perhaps people would wonder, what's canyoning? And why haven't I heard of it? Well, if you haven't heard of it, that would be because it's illegal in the United States. But I didn't know that until after the fact. So I stupidly agreed to sign up for what I thought was similar to canoeing. That's what I thought canyoning was. And it turns out it's not similar at all. No. We were hiking waterfalls and then rappelling down waterfalls with a rope, with no safety harness, no parachute, no net, nothing to catch you if you fell. I rappelled the first time. There were several times we rappelled, but the first time I did, when I was rappelling, you're supposed to sort of sit into your own butt and use your legs to propel yourself off a wall, and I slipped. And then I crashed immediately into the wall again on my shin, so that was fun. And then, as we made our way down, it was time to jump off of a cliff, just a plain cliff, no rope, no safety harness. We did wear helmets. And when I was jumping off the cliff, I slipped again. And I slipped basically in a way that did not allow me to jump very high or very far away from the cliff like I should have. So as soon as I slipped, what I felt was the instructor shove me even further, which actually was good, but I hit my head on the way down. And then I think I blacked out. I don't remember anything after that, but apparently when I rose out of the water, because that's what we landed in, everything was gushing blood, it looked like, out of my head. And I had to be taken to a Swiss hospital, which were actually very lovely. It was like sunshine and rainbows. Everybody was very sweet. And because of the way their country works, the healthcare is actually affordable. I think I paid 20 American dollars to have stitches. And then we continued our European adventure because, of course, this happened the first week we were gone. I didn't want to go home. I wanted to persevere, but I was never going to go canyoning again. But the problem was that my stitches were going to need to come out 10 days later. And we were going to be in Spain and maybe Italy. But that's okay. We kept going. I did have a concussion. I never went canyoning again. We continued on the European adventure. And when day 10 struck, it was time for us to be in Italy. I think we're in, wow, it's a very popular city and I'm blanking. It's the one with the water.
Venice.
Thank you, it was Venice. We were in Venice and there were like 6 of us sharing a hotel room. And I wasn't feeling well that day. I think I had just been traveling too much and I needed like a day to just rest. And my friends were gonna go out, which was fine. And I was gonna be at the hotel and we'd meet up for dinner. And the only thing I had in the room was popcorn, and I thought I wasn't really hungry anyway, that could hold me over. And what we didn't realize when my friends left, I just basically slept, like I fell asleep, I said goodbye. The hotel room, at least in this particular hotel in Venice, it locked from the outside. So when I woke up later and I was trying to leave, I couldn't. And there was no phone in the hotel room to call anybody. So I screamed, hoping housekeeping would hear me. They didn't. So I lived on popcorn and then waited for my friends to come back for dinner time, casually took my own stitches out, and then went out for a celebratory meal. And that's pretty much the most risk I've taken since my whole life. I am now in my 30s, that happened in my 20s, and I'll basically never do any of that again. The end.
Thanks, Jamie, for sharing that story with us. I, too, did a trip that included Switzerland and Venice. I had a very different experience, largely because I, too, am terrified of heights. Anytime that someone tried to convince me to go rappelling or anything like that, I was like, hell no. So I'm actually super impressed that you took that risk. I did manage to go rock climbing eventually, and I love it. I just always look down, and that's the worst. But
basically.
But your story about needing stitches and the blood definitely reinforced for me that I might be right to avoid that risk.
Oh, you're definitely right. There's not a might.
I like to have that validation.
Nobody should ever do that, ever.
No, I'm sorry that you had to endure.
Thank you.
But I do think it's really impressive that you took the risk.
Thank you. It was all out of peer pressure.
I do have another question for you about your story, though.
Yes, ma'am.
Was the popcorn true? Like, was that...
Honestly, there was something I had to, like, I barely had any food. It might have been popcorn or it might have been...
it was something
like
snacky.
Snacky, like
Yeah.
maybe it was granola, but we basically did subsist on that trip with granola and popcorn, so chances are it was one of those.
All right. I just want to say here are lots of stories. We do not think that snacks are meals, but they are delicious. I don't know how you
What
feel
she
about
said.
that, but I think it's important to remember that. No, because I too have tried to substitute a meal with a snack.
It's not.
It doesn't
It's not a
work.
winning.
It
It's not a
doesn't work.
winning solution. No,
Venice is magnificent. I really thought it was like one of the most incredible.
it really was.
Thing.
I really didn't believe everything I'd heard about it until I saw it. I'm like, what do you mean? There's a city with water and water taxis and water runs through it? Yeah, it's all true.
I love it because it's also, in addition to the water, it's like a walking city. So you can just like walk and get lost and you'll find your way back and it's great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right, Amy's gonna help me select my genre and the like.
A word, please.
Okay, tricycle.
I mean, really. Tricycle.
Okay.
Another word.
Blue.
Blue.
Nicely spelled.
Which one would you like?
I'm gonna go with this one, that first half of the circle.
Fairy tale.
My favorite. It actually is.
I believe
I
that.
just want you to know that I know I wrote these, but I don't remember which is and which.
Oh, I thought you were going to confess that you played Dungeons and Dragons. I
have played it once or twice, but it's too much work for me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's just too much to keep track of. I and I also I don't love competition. You know, I'm like, I live in the story. I don't need like the game aspect
I
of it
see.
and stuff. But yeah.
Okay, that was close.
I'm on board with people playing it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Tell us how you really feel.
That's it. That's how I feel.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna adjust the camera. We'll be right back. Once upon a time, there was a little girl, and she grew up in a cottage in the forest. She loved to play by the brook. I guess I should name her. Her name is, I'm coming up with strange names. Her name is Bluebell. Bluebell loved to drink from the brook. She liked to hang out with the deer and pretend she was one of them. So she would kind of like get in there. She liked to run up the trees. She liked to, collect blueberries, of course, because that's what you do when you're, in the forest and your name is Bluebell. I know you're wondering, who did she live with? Like, did she just grow up kind of like as if she was raised by wolves? Yes. She did not really know any adults for most of her life. It was actually the kind of thing that we would think is tragic. A child should have parents and adults who care for them and love them. But Bluebell was kind of fine with it. She kind of rolled along, and somehow she avoided all the scrapes that most of us would find ourselves in. She found a way to feed herself. You have to understand, though, that Bluebell wasn't left alone since she was a baby. Obviously, a baby can't feed herself. It was when she was 2. At that point, she could pick her blueberries. Now, one day, Bluebell looked up from the brook and saw across the land, across the rocky crags and all the trees and everything, that in the very far distance was this weird, tall thing starting to go up. There were bricks. She didn't know what to call those things. They were just like blocks of something. And there were workers piecing them up. And after a year of seeing this, she realized it was a castle. Now, she didn't really know what a castle was, obviously, but she needed to find out. So she was like, how am I gonna get there? It's really far, and I know I love to run, but this seems like quite a distance. I'm gonna have to build something for myself so I can get there. So she found these kind of flat, round rocks, 3 of them, and she found some sticks. And this Bluebell was quite an ingenious person because she found a way to turn it into a tricycle. And she rolled herself on this prehistoric little tricycle at the young age of 12, because yes, she'd been hanging out for a long time in that forest. And she rolls up to the castle. Now, you can imagine Bluebell was kind of scruffy. She didn't really have a haircut. Her clothes were kind of made out of matted leaves. Like, she might have been a little smelly. But she had a look in her eye that was really fun. So she rolls up. There's a moat. There are 5 men on each side of this little bridge over the moat with their trumpets and the scrolls and everything. And she's like, I need to get in here. I need to know what this thing is. And they're like, young lady, I don't really think you're presentable. And she was like, I don't really know what that word means. What does it mean to be presentable? And they were like, well, at the very least, you should smell good or not bad. It would be nice if your hair was a little more kempt, and your clothes, I'm quite concerned. Where have you been dressing yourself? And she said, I've been fending for myself for years and years. No one complained before. The deer didn't have a problem with it. The squirrels were fine. The rabbits, totally chill. The first trumpeter, his name was Darius. And Darius looked at Bluebell and kind of could see that she was laughing a little bit inside by these slightly ridiculous questions that these men were asking. I mean, normal for them, but he could see how ridiculous it was to her. And he was like, child, what is your name? And she said, adult, my name is Bluebell. And he said, Bluebell, come inside, we're gonna get you freshened up. Once Darius brought her inside, he pulled out his wand. There were sparks flying off of it. He hid it in his trumpet. You'd think it would rattle when he would, make some music, but he was magic. He found a way to conceal it. He twirled his wand all around Bluebell, and she turned into a talking bluebell flower. The end. All right, thanks for listening to my little story about Bluebell and her fairy god person Darius. And thanks, Jamie, for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
This was fun. Hopefully I'll see you sometime soon.
I think you will.
I think I will too. Bye, all.
Bye-bye.